Hey everyone, Joe here. Today I'd like to talk about the top 5 things I look for when I purchase a new camera. These top 5 features or specifications are the things that I look for in particular. So if you got something different, post your comments down the bottom. I'd love to hear what your opinions are. So let's get in here and talk about my top 5 features. Okay, now these top 5 features I'm going to list in least important to most important. So we'll start at number 5 and go to number 1. And starting at number 5 is megapixels. Now, people are like, whoa, I thought megapixels is the most important thing to look for when you get a new camera. Well, that's a lot of marketing hype camera manufacturers like to push is megapixels. In particular, they want to holler about the new 5DS and all that. It's got 50 megapixels. And that's all well and good and everything, but megapixels ain't always the most important thing to look at, I like to look at dynamic range, ISO performance, other things. But number 5 to be is megapixels. It still is important. The more megapixels you got, the more sharpness it can squeeze from the lens. But just because your camera says to have 20 or 24 megapixels, if you got, bad lens in front of the camera, it's still not going to get you that much detail. So you still have to spend money on lens to get more sharpness. If you take like a camera that has like a 20 megapixel sensor and put a crap lens in front of it, if you turn around and take a camera, say like a 15 megapixel sensor and put a great lens in front of it, the 15 megapixel image from that other camera, the 15 megapixel camera, will look sharper and look better. So megapixels are important. They can squeeze more sharpness from the lens, however, they're not the most important to me. Now, I like to look for something, say 20 to 24 megapixel range to be, up to 36 on a full frame, but definitely in crop sensor, 20 to 24 is about the max until the technology gets better at least. Okay, coming at number 4 is dynamic range. Now, a lot of people stress dynamic range, saying it's the most important thing. Of course, everybody's got their own opinions. However, dynamic range is important. It's something to consider. But unless you're shooting, sunsets, sunrises, or areas where there's a lot of contrast between the highlights and the shadows, most people will not notice a few stops difference in dynamic range. In a portrait and studio environment, you may not notice any at all because there isn't that much dynamic range there, especially if you're using strobe lights and whatnot to get your lighting correct. So if you work with your own lighting, most people ain't never notice dynamic range. Now, it's nice to have it, but from what Canon has a little bit less than Nikon for the most part. At least it has for the past couple of years. That could change, but it's not the most important thing to me. Okay, the third most important thing to me is pro features. And what I mean by pro features is like manual video, being able to control the audio noise, the frame rate, the exposure. But one of the most important pro features that I really, really like and just I find it really hard to live without is micro adjustments. Micro adjustments are very important to me. And I'll explain why. Let's say we got 12 lenses running off say a camera manufacturer's assembly line here, and all 12 lenses are made by the same group of 12 people. Each lens will perform differently. Some may have minor variations, 1 or 2 may have complete character to their own. And that's because when a camera manufacturers manufacture lenses, they have a list of specifications that they go to, tolerances, you can say, that the lens can live or not live up to, But, for example, they all may pass this, Q&A, pass the tolerance levels and stuff, but you may get this nice brand new lens in and you go to take a photo, you focus it on the eye. Next thing you know, the ear's in focus, but not really the eye. Or you take another photo, from a different lens, the next thing you know, nose is in focus, but not the eye. Then you can have some either front forward or back focusing issues to worry with. With micro adjustments, however, you can go in and fine-tune each lens on an individual basis. So that if you have a cheap body, or not in a cheap body, let's just say a cheaper, lower-end, entry-level DSLR, you may only be able to adjust the camera for all the lenses or none at all. And if you get a pro in body, then you normally, like 70D or above in the Canon range, you can sit there and adjust each lens on an individual basis. So if your 85 focuses a little, to in front, but your 50mm focus is a little behind, you can fine tune them to focus just where they should. So that's why Pro features like micro adjustments are really important for me and something I really look for when purchasing a new camera. Okay, number two. Number two is ISO performance. Now, I don't mean like this marketing hype like 12.5 million ISO or whatever, camera manufacturers are advertising. I'm talking about native ISO. How clean is the ISO between, say, 100 and 6400? Does 6400 look crystal clear, or is 800 as high as you go before it goes to complete garbage? That's something I really look at and really consider. And that's another reason I don't really care that much about higher megapixels. You get higher megapixels, you get much smaller pixel pitch, and you don't get the ISO performance. So I like having, really good ISO performance, even more than dynamic range. That's why number two most important thing to me is ISO performance. So especially if you're shooting, say, like in a sports environment or low light, ISO performance can really make or break your image. So that's something to consider. Number one most important thing to me is ergonomics. How does this camera feel? Does it feel good in your hands? Does it feel awkward in your hands? Is it comfortable to shoot with? Is it not comfortable? Is it, light as a feather? Or is it, heavy as a football-sized neutron star? That's things to consider. If the camera doesn't feel right, the chances are that you won't bring it with you and actually shoot, photos and stuff with it, or highly unlikely. So if it feels good in your hands, you're able to carry it everywhere with you and capture more moments, more photos, that you can actually present and show. So that's why ergonomics is hugely important to me. I consider a lot of cameras out there, look at a lot of them, but I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my head, how heavy is this thing? Is it going to be like toting a Sherman tank around all day? I don't want to tote a huge heavy camera. But then again, I don't want one that's too small that you can't hold on to the thing. So that's things to consider. It's ergonomics. That's why I find ergonomics number one. How well does this camera feel in your hands? So that's my top 5 things I look for, features, specifications, whatnot, whatever you want to call them, that I consider when purchasing a new camera. So like I said before, post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. What are your top 5 things you look for? And if you like this video, how about a thumbs up? Thumbs up's always highly appreciated. And if you're not a subscriber yet, please take the time to subscribe. I make at least 4 videos a week, so you don't really want to miss any of them since, well, they're awesome. I have awesome videos. Seriously, I do. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.